I wanted to post a more budget league start friendly strat after my first two videos, which were more geared towards the top end. And as you can see, the prices of Ember Allflames have skyrocketed, especially these two. My bad for the part I played in that. Ethereal has climbed way past the point of where I thought it would. It's closer to 300 chaos rather than this. And it's at the point where my previous video is really now for the extreme 0.1% min-maxers or group play, which is a shame. But in a time where one Allflame can net you almost two divines, Betrayal has become extremely lucrative to run. So I'm making a video on a more budget strat for those who are still trying to build their currency, and it's revolved around supplying the demand and farming those Allflames, combined with three other smaller strategies that do not add much, if any times to your map at all. I tried to make this farm as simple as possible so you don't need to know or learn how to set up Betrayal. It's Alc and Go only, it only uses 3 Scarabs that are all 1 chaos each, and in the end it was quite profitable, netting me around 48 divines in 100 maps, and that's with me excluding a lot of the loot for ease of selling reasons. And if you want my currency per hour, even though it's going to be different for every person, probably took me around 7 hours to complete, which would have been around 7 divines per hour for me, which for an Alc and Go strat of this investment, that's pretty good. Okay, so what is the strat? It is simple. We are Alc and going tier 16 maps and farming Allflames through Betrayal. This gives you a chance at a 2 divine jackpot when you run a safe house with a runner up of a 45 chaos Allflame. In order to make it so you're not just preying on the jackpot to make all of your currency, we combine it with a few things. Red altars for that solid stream of currency. There really is no beating this with Alc and Go strats. Red altars are usually necessary for this sort of thing. We combine it with this Trial of Glory node, which is realistically one of the worst nodes on this tree, but for Alc and Go it's not that bad. It makes it so you have a 20% chance to get an improved offering of the goddess in your maps. This does not mean we done every single trial in our maps, as that would be incredibly inefficient. What you do is you read the title of the trial, and if it says offers an improved offering to the goddess, you then run it. This will give you a chance to get anywhere from a 10 chaos to 50 chaos offering. In the 100 maps I ran, I probably added around 5 minutes in total, and it netted me around a divine. For Alc and Go, I don't see why you wouldn't take this, considering it's such a non-commitment and you can get a decent chunk of change. And we also combine it with a Nico and this node mining byproducts, which for low investment, low risk strategies early on in a league is in my opinion the most slept on node, as it netted me around 7 chaos profit per map. It will give you azurite equal to sulphite 10% of the times, which when combined with other Nico nodes and the Sulphite Scarab is around 3000 azurite every time it procs. That 3000 azurite then turns into 10 of the small resonators, which turns into 20 chaos at current market price. On average, you should be proccing this node once every 3 maps, which is around 6 to 7 chaos per map, zero effort, free money. We also take Kirak missions and scouting reports, since you can actually turn Kirak missions into an incredible amount of profit later on if you want to run them. I managed to end with 33 Kirak missions, so you should expect one in every 3 maps. From what I've heard, using scouting reports to hunt for the beasts and harvest implicits is pretty profitable right now. I tested it out myself just a little bit and it did seem pretty good, so it is nice to build these up and have the option to run them later on. Because of this, scouting reports are around 3 chaos each, which is why we take these nodes, and you would take these nodes too, I just didn't. And of course we take some betrayal nodes. You do not want this one down here, as it will make it harder to build towards your safe house. Realistically, there's not many nodes that actually help towards betrayal. There's not many scarabs either. It's sort of an unjust mechanic. Just in the game, there's not much you can do for it. But this right here is very important, and this right here, so you 100% want to take those because that will build towards your safe house quicker. As for the scarabs, again, I wanted to make this as cheap as possible. So you run one time sulphite, which will increase the azurite that you gain, which will turn into resonators and get you chaos directly. You want one times hordes, which will increase the amount of influence monsters in your maps, and you'll be getting more chaos, gem cutter prisms, glass blower baubles, scarabs, anything like that. And you want reinforcement scarabs because this is realistically the only way that you can juice your betrayal through scarabs. And then you want the quant craft just because there's really no other craft to do. You could do haste, but I wanted to make this as easy to sell and liquidate as possible too, so I didn't run haste, even though rogues markers and the contracts would have netted me a decent additional chunk of change to this strategy. But how did I run Betrayal? Well, Betrayal is one of the most daunting mechanics for most players in the game. To this day, a lot of very good players do not even know how to do it, so I didn't even bother running it at 100% efficiency, and I didn't even bother setting up my board either. I didn't do the 5-5-2-2 strat or anything like that. I quite simply executed members when I had the option and tried to build towards the safe houses as fast as possible. I wanted to run it in the shoes of someone who has literally next to no knowledge or experience with the mechanic to see if you could still make a good amount of currency from it, and I definitely did, which you'll see in the end. One thing I will say is I made sure to make sure my leaders were always at 3 stars, since a couple of times I ran the safe house earlier, it didn't drop an Allflame when they were lower than rank 3. And I noticed that when my leader was at 1 star, I never got an Allflame drop except from once, although it was an ethereal drop. It might be completely anecdotal, but better safe than sorry. So just make sure these are all at 3, because I'd hate for to say that it didn't matter and then it turns out that it does matter. I'll make sure to link a betrayal guide in the description by Maxroll, since I think it's useful if you want to be a little more efficient than I was. Onto the currency made. First, I'll single out Allflames. I dropped 5 out of 8 of them. Whereabouts are they? I dropped 5 out of 8 of them. There's 8 different Allflames, and 3 of them did not drop for me. I can only assume that the other 3 can only be dropped from either Katarina or lower level map safe houses. If anyone knows for sure, please make sure to comment it, because I have no clue. The other option is I just had some extremely weird luck and didn't drop 3 of them, but under the assumption that only these 5 can drop, and under the assumption that they share the same drop rate, then I actually under averaged ethereals, which is the jackpot all flame. I also dropped 3 syndicate medallions, which for around 27 safe houses does not seem like that many at all. I feel like it should be closer to a 1 in 4 drop rate, kind of similar to how old Betrayal would have been, but maybe I'm completely wrong, and maybe it is around like a 1 in 8 to 10 drop rate. But even with some possibly weird RNG, in the end I still netted almost 50 divines and around 45 divines profit, which for 100 maps in this level of investment is pretty damn great. This is absolutely going to be one of the better budget currency makers from now on for those who don't really have the money to go out there and do all of these endgame farms. Supplying the demand will always be a good way to exploit the current market that we are in. Real quick, I made a docs just to quickly sum up the investment and the profit made. I didn't go into crazy detail, but it will be in the description down below in case you just want to see roughly what you can expect. There is one little note that I want to end this video on, and that is even though this is a budget Alc and Go strat, you might find yourself struggling in the maps. There will likely be 2 reasons for this. Reason number 1, red altars are much rippier than blue. You can't click mindlessly on them, so I'd advise to only click for the very best mods like mobs drop chaos, glass blowers, gem cutters, scarabs, rather than clicking every little one you see. The second reason will likely be your merc. A lot of people are still running this, but if you haven't set up your merc to give you a significant damage increase to make up for the HP he adds to all the mobs, then just dismiss him. The 50% extra HP added to every unique mob will be extremely detrimental to this farm, and the extra quantity that the merc applies will hardly help, since most of the loot farmed is not from mobs that benefit from increased quantity in this strategy. And that's the video. It's simple, it's not anything groundbreaking, but a couple of people were commenting that they wanted more budget early league strat farm out, since I was only really doing the very top end, so I thought I'd put this video out just to help even just a few people. If you got this far and you do plan on running this and it helps, maybe consider subscribing, and yeah.